Thank you everyone who's already joined our webinar. We'll get started in just a minute or so here. Welcome everybody to our webinar. Thank you for joining today on viewing the latest features for Sage Intacct. My name is Tracy Thompson and I'll help facilitate our webinar today. Before we get started, here are a few tips on using the Zoom platform so you can engage with our presenters and have the best experience possible. You should see a Zoom toolbar with icons for ask a question, chat, and raise your hand. You can use the ask a question or chat to submit a question or comment. If you need any assistance, click on the raise your hand button and I'll connect with you to help out. We do encourage you to ask questions throughout the presentation and we will do our best to answer them all at the end. If we don't get to your question, we'll follow up with you at the end of the presentation. If you experience any audio issues, you can access your audio settings and test your audio when you're ready in the meeting. At the bottom of the left-hand corner of the Zoom meeting toolbar, you'll find either the headphone or the microphone logo to join audio or mute or unmute. Click Join Audio to choose to connect your computer audio or dial into the meeting with a phone. Once your audio is connected, click Mute to disable the audio or Unmute to enable your audio. Within 72 hours of the webinar, you will receive a link to download the slide deck and recorded presentations. Today's webinar does qualify for CPE credits. To receive your credits, you must actively respond to each of our polling questions and stay on for the duration of the webinar. If you have any difficulty answering the questions, please email us at elevate@armaninollp.com with questions. And with that, I'd like to introduce you to our presenters today, Michelle Schimberg and Jennifer Jensen.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm so excited to help you with this or introduce you to the new release. I'm Michelle Schimberg. I'm a director at Armanino. I've spent over 30 years of my life in accounting, and I love helping people with this product. Jenny?
Hi, I'm Jenny Jensen. I'm a manager in the consulting area. I have been working in Armanino for 2.5 years, working with Intacct now. And I'm excited to share with you all the newest and greatest updates that have been released from Intacct.
All right. Our learning objectives today are identify new release features of your solution, to demonstrate the new user experience and navigation, and to manage the latest release of the solution to maximize its potential. Here's our agenda today, and let's get started. So first, company administration. For those of you that have single entities, Intacct is changing to a multi-entity environment for everybody. The benefits of multi-entity are that you can add entities to your company, share accounts and dimensions, and automatically trigger intercompany transactions. Works with multiple base currencies, and you can do consolidated reporting. The timeline for this change will be in release 2, we're going to do general ledger, accounts payable, accounts receivable, cash management, and time and expense will be available. And in release 3, clients using order entry, purchasing, and inventory will be available. And in the future, Salesforce integrations, projects, and contracts. If you want to know more about how to convert to multi-entity, you'll need to file a case in community. Following with this, now you will now find in your company setup your entity and ID and name, which you can change, so that when they add into the entity, you'll have a top level and an entity name. All right, accounts payable. So early adopter. This is something that if you are interested in, you'll need to contact your client manager. But early adopter, this is pretty exciting. You'll now be able to upload bills. You'll use the AI to capture data from your PDF invoice and create a draft bill. You'll upload or email bills into Intacct, automatically attaches the vendor invoice to the PDF, and leverages GL Outlier to report exceptions. So this is pretty exciting. Hopefully that'll be coming soon for all of us. Draft bills. There's a new draft bills view. In addition to that, the validation for draft bills has been relaxed. You can enter a bill with incomplete information and return it later to complete it. The trick there is if you don't know the amount, you can enter 0. So let's go look at where you would find that. If I come to accounts payable and bills, and I go to my views, there is now a draft bills view. All right, back to the regularly scheduled program. The other thing that they've done is they've reorganized the bills detail page. The frequently referenced information has been moved to more prominent locations and grouped related fields into sections that can now be easily collapsed for easier access to line items. And our first polling question, Tracy?
All right, great. Here we go. Launching the first polling question now. What learning types are available at the Learning Center? Customer office hours, Intacct fundamentals on-demand training, access to the community, register for instructor-led training, Armanino Academy classes. I'll give it just a second here.
How are we doing, Tracy?
Good, almost there. I think 1% more, and I like to give it 80%. There we go. Okay, I'm going to end the poll now. And here's the results.
All right. So we will talk more about this in a later slide. I think we got things a little bit out of order here, but customer office hours, independent fundamentals is available. Armanino Academy classes are not available, and you can, the rest of it, and access to community is not there.
All right.
All right, next, other AP enhancements. The bill date at column has been added to the pay bills screen, and you can download the template accessed from, the download template is now accessed from bills import screen. So let's show that. All right, first thing I want to show you is I forgot to show you the November invoice, or sorry, the adjusted bill screen. You'll notice that the invoice name now shows on all tabs. In addition, they've changed the posted date is up here. They've collapsed and reorganized where things show. And if you have current multi-currency, you can collapse that so that you can get to your lines quicker. In the payments, pay bills, oops, sorry. If I go to my pay bill screen, I now see a bill date column exposed. And if I go to accounts payable and bills and import bills, my download template is right here and easily accessed to make things easier for everybody. All right. For those of you using bank file, they've now unmasked the vendor bank details. So you unmask a vendor's creditor account number and the vendor in the vendor record, custom reports, audits, and in the API. Permission is unassigned by default. So there's a new permission that you need to go and add for if you've got administrative rights and for vendors that are enabled for bank file payments. we've been hearing about CSI. For those of you who've been excited about this and had not signed up for the early adopter, CSI is now available for everybody. You would, it's no longer just early adopter. You're going to go to company admin subscriptions, outbound payment services, and click view options, and then select CSI. Also, we've been hearing about this for a couple of years, but Wells Fargo Payment Manager will no longer be available after July 14th, 22. Accounts receivable. Next polling question.
All right, here we go. Is this the correct one here, Michelle?
No, it should be, can you reverse AR payment in bulk?
Let me see here. Hold on, sorry. Here we go. Can you reverse AR payment in bulk? Thanks for the correction, Michelle.
No problem.
I'll just wait till 80% hits here.
We need to have Jeopardy music.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to end the poll now. So you got a pretty 50-50.
Yep. Okay. So no, you cannot reverse AR payments in bulk. That is very important to know, because in the new release, you can import customer payments. This has been something that many of our customers have asked for. You can import customer payments in bulk. You can import up to 5,000 lines per file using a CSV import. Now understand that because you cannot bulk reverse import payments, you want to test this prior to going live with it. So you want to bring one in and make sure that it's working. So let's go look at where you would see that template. And we go to accounts receivable and we go to receive payments new. You can now import right here. And when you select import, here's your download template for easy access. Pretty exciting. In addition, they've added the ability to have a default sender email. So previously it was the administrator's email. Now you can choose to either have it be the user profile email, the person who's actually sending the information, or have a custom profile where you might use, if your company has an accounting at your company name, a generic email. So if we show where that is, if I go to my configure accounts receivable, right here is contact settings. And here's where I could enter my email if I wanted to. Budgeting and planning, over to you, Jenny.
All right. So budgeting and planning is now considered to be just planning, and it's going to be an add-on application. You no longer have to buy it with an Intacct, and the subscription to the planning module is required. Okay, go next.
Cash management.
So for those who are early adopters, you can automate your reconciliation with matching rules. And what this does is it'll create a journal entry transaction to match against your bank transaction, and it automates it so that if you choose like bank feeds or daily deposits as the option, it'll automatically create the journal entry for you. And again, if you're interested in becoming an early adopter, contact your client manager and they can provide you more information around that. Then we have construction. So construction is a pretty exciting feature that was added to Intacct. It gives you the ability now to create PDFs from your job change orders, which then you can email out to your internal or external contacts. Now they've offered multi-currency change orders within the purchasing and order entry module, rather than just utilizing the base currency. So now you can have a transaction currency versus just the base currency. And then you can easily identify the primary document source in the purchasing module. Subsequent document will be linked back to the primary document automatically for you. So pretty cool changes there.
And contracts. That's back to me. All right. This is a pretty exciting thing. Now you can forecast your contract renewals. This idea came from you. So remember, guys, that when you enter ideas in community and vote on them, Intacct definitely pays attention to that. So you will a renewal forecast schedule created for up to 60 months when you set up a new contract line to renew. To see renewal forecast data, you're going to build a report based on or associated with the contract billing schedule or contract revenue schedule objects, and only created for contract lines with a state of in progress or renew only that are set up for renewal. Bulk Action Run, as you know, they introduced Bulk Action Run, I believe, a release ago. They've enabled Bulk Action Run for 2 additional functions. They've enabled it for post revenue or expense recognition and for update % complete revenue schedules. They've removed the process offline budget button, as all revenue expense posting is now posted offline. There is no limit for revenue and expense entries selected to post, and all % complete schedules updates are now processed offline. You can edit contract invoice dates. So now you can change the transaction date and GL posting date in an open reporting period, and change the invoice GL posting date up. Changing the invoice GL posting date updates the actual posting date in the associated billing schedule to that date and updates the transaction date for all associated journal entries. The invoice GL posting date cannot be before the contract line GL posting date or the usage record date. And if you change the transaction date, Intacct changes the exchange rate date to that same date. Again, note this is also came from you folks.
Yeah, and Michelle, I'm sorry, this is Irene. Just just so you guys know that there's a lot of good this is good new functionality that they added related to contracts, right? But there's a lot of little call outs in there. So if you are using the contract module and you are doing this feature, make sure you're paying attention to all those little things that Michelle pointed out, because if you make changes along the way, there's other things, down from that are affected. So nice feature. Definitely pay attention to it if you're using the changing of the dates features. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Irene. Okay, general ledger. Our next polling question. This should be when a user reclasses.
Yep, here we go. Can you see that?
Yep.
All right, when the user reclasses a journal entry, what is reflected in the audit trail? The fields that were changed, that a reclass was made but no dates, that the reclass was made with dates and user noted, nothing.
This is a tricky one.
All right, just give it a few more seconds here.
Remember, we're not grading.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and end the polling question here. And here's the results.
Okay, the fields that were changed, no, that is not. That a reclass was made but no dates, that is correct. That a reclass was made with date and user notes and nothing. So let's go in and look. That was a teaser for you can now, if you have approvals turned on, previously you could not adjust that in that journal entry at all. You are now able to reclass an approved journal entry. Reclassify approved journal entries, including statistical, user-defined, adjusting, and other journals. What can be reclassified? Account and dimension value, the memo, the description, the reference number, add a comment, an attachment, and change the line amounts as long as the amounts don't remain the same. Excuse me, as long as they do remain the same. Note that you have to give permissions And there's some cautions here, guys, because I think this is super exciting. When I was using it, I would have been thrilled if I could have been able to use approving journal entries so that I could adjust them also. But note that the audit trail does not show the details. Note that there is not a reclassification report and that the journal entry does not go back through approvals. So, my recommendation is that you would have your person who's doing the approvals do it, but just enter it cautiously. So let's go look at how that works. All right, so first note is that, again, if you have permissions, you would go to company, admin, go to the role and subscriptions, and you will need to check which journals you want to be able to reclassify, or excuse me, which types of journals you want to reclassify. And then if you want to reclassify, what we're going to do here is I'm going to view. You'll notice that I cannot edit this transaction. What I can do is come in and view it, reclassify it, come down here and say, oh dear, this was supposed to be admin. I'm going to change this to admin. I'm going to post it. Notice that there was no submit up there. It goes directly to post. And then if I view this transaction one more time and I look at the audit trail, you'll see that I posted this earlier also. It doesn't show you anything except the date of the transaction and that someone modified it. So that is a gotcha that you just need to watch out for. This is exciting for some of us, and for some of us it scares you. Now notice you cannot reclassify a journal entry that in a closed period.
Michelle, there's a Q&A in the Q&A from.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so the reclass of journal entries is great, but the fact that it doesn't go back out for approval is a large downside, unfortunately. That is true in some scenarios for sure, right, Michelle? Something for you guys to be thinking about. It doesn't go back through. But remember, you also do reclassify as a permission. So most of the time, we don't allow everybody to reclassify. It's our managers, it's our accounting admin people. And so hopefully whoever you do give that ability to do the reclass is trustworthy enough or is of that level that it doesn't necessarily need to go through approval again. I'm guessing that's kind of what Intacct's thinking was in not sending it back through for just reclassify. That's also, correct me if I'm wrong, Michelle, but I think that's the same functionality in AP bills. And other ones, if you reclassify, it doesn't go back through approval processes.
Exactly, which is why
it is a permission. Mm-hmm.
Right, which is what I meant when you be cautious with who you give this permission to. The other thing to note is that you could possibly add a smart event or something to trigger to let you know something was reclassified for audit trail. Okay, so next thing is we know the GL outlier detection has been in production here for quite a while. They've now added the GL outlier assistant. So for clients that are using the GL outlier detection, you have expanded functionality using the GL outlier assistant. Entries that are flagged as outliers are sent back to the submitter instead of directly to the approver, noting that there's a problem, so that the submitter could fix the journal entry and resubmit it prior to having to have someone review it. This is set up in the general ledger in the setup tab. If you have a GL outlier detection on, then you can check the box down here for outlier assistant for that journal. Dynamic allocations. They've added to dynamic allocations. Statistical accounts are now available to use in our dynamic allocation. Dimension override is expanded, and it applies to overrides for the target when the dimension treatment is preserved or not considered. Order entry, purchasing, and inventory. Jenny, all yours.
Thank you. Okay, so now within these three modules, you'll notice that tracking tab has been changed from the bin tab. So that's kind of nice to have. Warehouse column has been added to that tracking tab. And then a new tab also was added called inquiry. And this will include your on hold, on order, and in transit transactions depending on the configuration of your environment. Okay. Then you will have the ability to view an item's demand and supply without going to reports and running them and deciphering what is in stock. You'll, as an early adopter, you'll be able to populate dimensions and then in the subtotal lines, and then dimension values that are listed in the line items will be populated for the subtotal lines. So again, that's early adopter program. And you can contact your client manager to become part of the early adopter program.
Lots of early adopter this time.
Yes.
All right, platform and customization services. It's a sneak peek. They are adding platform triggers. So for those of you who are platform developers, you'll be very excited. They are adding triggers for validation, update field, and you can read the rest, and then also the trigger events. And if you want more information, you'll go to www.developer.intact.com. And reporting. Okay. So for those of you who have for years had to export your reports to Excel so that you could add notes to them, Intacct has added a notations column to your report. You can add qualitative information to your reports. The notation column type is added, and you add notes at each line or at the account group level. Let's go look at that. Maybe, there we go. All right, I'm in a financial report writer. I've selected my report. I'm editing my report. You'll see here I have notations. You will add a notation, and you can add notations similar to you as you can with computations. You can add multiple ones in the same, excuse me, if it wants to work for me. I can add multiple notations, and then I'll select what notation I want to use for this purpose. So let's say I want this to be FY 2022, and I'll call this comments. And in this, oops. And then in this instance, for this example, I don't need to put information here, but the point is that there's two notations, and then you go to columns. You would add a column for notation. There's now a notation type down here at the bottom. You select which notation you want. And if I preview this, you'll see that I now have comments, and the three notations that I had in that notation column are now exposed.
Oh my goodness, this is so exciting, Michelle.
I'm so excited about it because I can tell you so many people always ask that question. I'm like, no, I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is great news. And it looks like you can have it at a summary level or a detail level, depending on what you're doing.
And at which line you want it. Now, one comment is this cannot be an encyclopedia. This has to be the Reader's Digest version because it will get too wide. I did not cap out. I did not find out what the max is in that column, but just be cautious because obviously it's going to right size the rest of the columns.
Sure.
All right. Back to our regularly scheduled program.
There is one
Yep.
call out. Oh,
Yep.
go ahead.
Oh, no, you we did have one question come in.
Okay.
If you guys wanted to answer it. So it's for reclass entry after posting, the mechanism would be to start a process outside of Sage, or is there a way to alert the original approver of the entry?
I believe you could set up a smart event, Irene.
So you can do a smart event when a document, when you post a transaction, because the smart event, right, it will trigger an action. So you could have an email go, it would be an on edit. The problem that you'll probably run into, just so you know, is that reclass and edit aren't different in Intacct's opinion. So when you do a smart event and you say, send an email when somebody edits this transaction, you might not necessarily know, okay, that it was a reclass versus an edit. And remember, your smart event cannot capture before and after. So your email notification you get says, hey, somebody, you know, change this transaction, but you can't in that email content say before or after. So
This might be a way to use Collaborate too, to document the changes as part of your internal process.
that's a good suggestion, Jenny. Yep, if you're using Collaborate, you could note that on the bottom of the screen to make sure in the Collaborate to make sure you put in there why it was reclassified.
That's a great idea. I love that.
Yeah, and don't forget about the community and voting, because I'm sure other people are thinking the same thing. I bet there's a lot of users that would like it to go through an approval process again on reclass. And so there's probably already an idea out there. If there's not, go ahead and go add that idea or go vote for it, because what would be ideal is that they gave you a configuration option that allows it to go back through approval on edit or not, like we have over in purchasing approvals.
Right.
And on this topic, Michelle, you have a few in the queue. They're not in the Q&A, they're in the chat.
Oh,
Yep.
okay. Can you add 2 columns? Yes, you absolutely can add 2 columns. So let's go back in there and let's test that for 1 second.
Oh, but it says, can you add 2 columns, one for current year and prior year, then moving forward, it will pull in the current year as the prior year.
No, however, when I was looking at this, one of the things I thought was it would be nice to have a different notation for each period, and then I would select the notation so I could see year over year what my notes were in each of the different budget to variance budget to variance differences. So I don't believe you can't have it be driven by it. What you could do is save your report differently. I try not to do that simply to make things a little bit more dynamic, but you absolutely could do that. Yes, you will be able to. Someone's asking if you'll get the recording. Yes, you'll absolutely get the recording that goes out with the PowerPoint after.
Yep. Yes, it will. 72 hours.
Yeah, and you guys, if you would post in the Q&A instead of the chat, we can respond with full information. So I can't respond in chat to answer these. Sorry, Michelle, but my permissions don't give me. I can't respond. So, but I can respond in Q&A. So if you put things in Q&A, that would be great. So let's finish this and then we'll go on.
Okay. So in a multi-entity environment, can you create a P&L for each entity?
Will you have to create a P&L for each entity? Will you have to? No, absolutely not. Beauty of Intacct, right, Michelle?
Right. So if I drop into USA, that same report will be available. If I go to reports and I go to report center, and note, guys, I don't know if you're using it, but if you look at the type, see, I've got report audience here so that I can easily filter. I've got my release report audience. And if I go in, oops, I made a mistake. Oh, actually, if I pull that report in USA, it's still here. It's just that my numbers are going to be different. They'll be related just to USA. Now, I would imagine if you wanted it just for that entity and you would save a different copy for that entity. Any other thoughts on that, Irene, that you can think of? Or Jenny?
No, looks good.
I think so.
All right.
And
I think, okay, can we export reports?
And that was in the Q&A. So, yeah, so I did answer that.
Okay, you did. Okay. And then can you get a hard copy of this? And okay, all right, we're good. I think we've got them all covered. I hope we've got them all covered. All right. So more reporting, advanced report writing. If you're using the custom report writer, because of the advancements they made in inventory, they've enhanced warehouse transfer reports, include warehouse transfer transactions for inventory control transactions. And if you're using the ICRW, Interactive Custom Report Writer, they've added filters so you can prompt for the date, the location, or the department. That's pretty exciting. All right, polling question number 4. Now, this was supposed to be learning type.
Yes. So you want me to go back to the first one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, we got a little mixed up here. Sorry about that. So let me just pull it up. I think it should be this one. Correct me if I'm wrong. Where can a user access AP bill template? Import data, accounts payable bill screen, import option accessed through the AP bill screen. I don't know.
We'll see if people were listening. See, maybe it was
Maybe
a-
we should mix it up, you know?
It was on purpose. We wanted to see if everyone was paying attention, you know?
All right, I'll give it just a couple more seconds here.
So I'll talk through it while you guys are checking. So remember when we talked through accounts payable, you're now able to access it through the AP bills screen and import. Oh, I gave you the answer, but we don't.
Yeah, here we go. I'll share the
So
the
you
answers here.
Import data. Those are for us that are old school. Still go to that. Think of company setup checklist and import data. The bills pay screen and import options accessed through the AP bills screen. I'm not sure what the difference there was, but we'll leave that. All right. And training, Jenny. So this was the question that we were supposed to ask about training. Go ahead, Jenny.
So, yeah, so for office hours and learning center, if you're interested in broadening your knowledge and confidence with the Intacct product, office hours have been extended to customers, where partners and customers can now attend a 1-hour session on specific topics. That's pretty exciting. We get to do that as a VAR partner, so that's pretty cool. And then access to the Learning Center is no longer part of the permissions, which is going to allow for broader access to your team and enable you to train at your leisure.
Yeah, and to talk more about the 1-hour session, so Intacct offers a bunch of hours, things like what's the difference between multi-entity, or why would I use this, or how's purchasing? I mean, it just has a bunch of very specific topics that are super helpful. I'm glad they're extending that now to our customers, which is great.
Mm-hmm. All right, so user experience. So some fields within.
Uh-oh. Did I lose you, Jenny? Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you, but I think Jenny might have dropped on accident.
All right, I'll go through this then. Updated labels and user interface. In accounts payable, evaluating the status of the bill and line items now is easier with the grouped related fields. Cash management, the menu has changed from matching rules to reconciliation rules. So Intacct changed the name, so don't be fooled. For contracts, no longer will you see the post offline button within manage revenue and expense recognition page, because remember they took that away so that because everything is posting offline. And inventory within the item record, the bins tab will be replaced with tracking. Coming soon, the future in lists is in expanded beta testing. So this is pretty exciting at Transform. They were showing these lists and all of the functionality that's coming. I can't wait till we get to see it. It's advanced filtering will be available, the ability to reorder, resize, freeze columns. So for any of you, I'm sure that all of us have wanted to be able to freeze columns so that the column on the left stays and then you can drag to the right and look at other information in your list. No need to go to another screen to customize the list view, and split screen between list views and records. Web services.
Before you get into web services,
please.
Yeah, so we have a question in the Q&A, and I apologize that the wrong option came up here, but if you're having trouble accessing training on the Armanino, the Academy training, you can simply email academy@armaninolp.com. So any assistance you need to attend the Academy training, just email academy@armaninolp.com. Thank you. And then Michelle, related to that other training, there's one more Q&A. Is there an easy way to find a list of 1-hour sessions that are now available for customers? I don't know. Do you know? We don't get to log in as a customer, so I don't know.
Exactly. I don't know. I know that the way you're going to access is getting easier, and hopefully because we can't log in as a customer, we can't see it. So if anybody else has already tested that, you could drop that in the Q&A. That would be exciting.
I would imagine they'd have a library of them or something, just like we do, but I don't know.
I'm hoping they do.
Yeah.
I know for us, we see ours in community, but now it's going to be in the learning center. So hopefully they put the whole library, they record them. All right. So back to, that wasn't what we were looking for. So web services, enhancements to the API for cash management, credit card feeds can be used for reconciliation. For construction, you can create purchasing transactions that support a linked workflow where a primary document is associated with all downstream transactions. That's actually really exciting. Purchase order and order entry allows the user to override and calculate VAT amounts when creating or updating transactions. And for projects, you can track the CFDA grant information. This is wonderful for non-for-profits that have grants. And you can find more information out at www.developer.intacct.com. And Irene, you want to give your spiel about the Academy, please?
Sure.
You're so good at it.
Well, I'm very passionate about training and really enjoy the Academy classes. So don't forget that the Academy is out there. I know that there's been a little bit of frustration recently. Academy rolled out a new website to be able to do registrations and stuff, but it's going to be awesome in the long run. Just got to get through a few hiccups along the way. So there's a link, Armanino Academy, right there. You'll get this handout and the recording after today's session will automatically be emailed to you. You'll get those, and then you can go to the link, you can go to the new website, and you can see all of the classes that we offer. We're getting ready to build our next quarter. We're going to start adding a bunch of intermediate classes to our Academy, which I'm excited about. So that'll be good to have as well. So Michelle went to the new website there. If you scroll down just a hair, you'll see Sage Intacct. Of course, we have other software as well. All of them are here, but you can go to Sage Intacct. Then you just have to wait a minute. You have to just wait a minute, and the screen's going to start populating with the classes that are coming up. And but please, it is a new system. You have to register and become a user, and then all of your Academy classes are run through the website, and all of your handouts and everything that you need from the Academy will be with your login here at the website. Again, if you're having any trouble, Tracy put this in the chat, just email academy@armaninolp.com and they'll help you get through that.
Okay. And I see in the question and answers, someone said, I'm trying to add notations to my report after walking through the steps to add the columns. The change does not save.
So we're getting a lot of questions related to those. Are we about done with the standard slides?
Yes, now we are.
I think we're done.
Okay, so I think let's go ahead and walk through it again. So let's walk through this whole notation thing and how this works, you guys.
So let's go to a new report. I'm going to release. Hold a second, please. All right. So let's go to this. Let's go to balance sheet. Uh-oh. Not what I want. Oh, I see what I'm at the entity. Let's try that again.
Right.
Like, wait, how come I can't report? Okay, so report center. And I'm going to edit the balance sheet detail. So I'm going to edit that. I come to notations.
So notice hold on, you're going fast. Okay. Notice down at the bottom, you guys, in the left-hand corner, notations. It's a brand new tab down there at the bottom. Okay, right below the rest of them. So a brand new tab. So that's the first step.
And then you select add notation. And now it opens up your screen. And so I'm going to call this web comments and comments.
And if you look at that first column, your first column matches your rows that are going to be on your report. So
Exactly.
it's Intacct is telling you the rows of your report in the first column, right? And now you're going to say where you want your comments.
So we're going to put example 1 here, and I'm going to put 1 here on the header for liabilities and equity and test this. So we'll call this example 2. All right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my columns, and I am going to insert a column. Again, I could add it to my left or to my right. So let's say I want it for current month. So I'm going to put it right here by hovering and going to add column to right. And I'm going to select
So
my
stop. Yep. So look right where she went. So see at the very top, it's a new column type, right? So you guys have to go to the column type and then click way at the bottom is the notation to make this column your notation column. Perfect.
And I would, if I had multiple notations in that other tab, I would be able to select which one I wanted, but I only have 1 here. So I just select web comments. And if I preview this, I'm going to put
And Michelle, the comment down below the column title will be different than, yeah.
Right. So let's say this, call this comments.
And this is a multi-currency. Do you have a filter for 100? You'll get an error if you try to run it without a.
All right, let's double
If
check.
you're in a multi-currency, it's there.
Good.
Yeah.
Perfect.
100.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to preview this. And my example 1 was in cash and equivalents. Because this is in detail, it only does it at the summary summary level. And if I come down to liabilities and equity, it should have been right there. So let's see if it was at the very bottom. So this is going to be a little bit of trial and error, but so if I come in here, oh, now I've got too many tabs open, darn it. Sorry.
I do notice that this one, Michelle, the notation one here, gives you a larger space than when you stick it in between columns.
Oh, if I do it to the right?
Yeah, if you do it on the far right, it gives you more space to enter your notations, where if you stick it in between columns, it's a pretty small column.
Okay, so let's move this to the right. And let's move it to the right one more time. And let's go back and fix that notation because I don't like where it showed up in my, this ended up at the footer. So if I instead put example 2 here, and I'm going to say test size of column 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, just for giggles, just to see how wide it gets. And if I preview this, now I have example 1 again at cash equivalents, and I have at the top of total liabilities, it
expanded it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it puts it on the footer of the account group that you put it on.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I should have probably selected this. It would have been a much better example if instead I had gone to my column, my rows, and I said summary. And I previewed that. I think that'll be a prettier version of it.
Yeah, because most of the time when you're doing financials that you're presenting, you're doing it at a summary level. You're not doing it at a detail level because it's intended for your published or your printed a lot of times, right? Which is what this is intended for. A couple questions in the Q&A. Did you add the comments in the edit version of the report? Yes, you have to be in edit mode to get to that tab, right? Michelle went in and edited the report to get to that notation tab. It's in your financial report.
I'm going to save and done this. And if I come back to balance sheet detail, and now I could click on here, it will run the report, but I'm going into edit. And again, this button is available by permissions. So not everyone will have access to do this. But if I pull the report it should, hopefully. Yep, there it goes. So it saved it. One call out, folks, for those of you who are doing report writing, notice it did just save that. So this report used to be in detail and it's now in summary, and I was playing and I hit save. So I have to go back and fix that. So the person who might want to pull the one in detail actually works properly. Right, are there other, can we import budget data from Adaptive to create import reports?
Intacct reports.
Intacct reports. Sorry, I read that. Yes. Right?
Not out of the box, no, but we can build an integration that does that. So adaptive budgets do not feed to Intacct natively. Adaptive reads Intacct data, right? And you do your budgeting and your reporting over an Adaptive. My understanding, Michelle, correct me if I'm wrong, or Jenny, but my understanding is out of the box, you cannot send budget data to Adaptive. There has to be a
import.
It's a custom build. Now you could export import, so you could export from Adaptive and import into Intacct, but it's not going to talk to each other directly. So I guess the questions or the answers kind of yes and no. So yes, step by step. No, they don't talk to each other natively, but it can be done with an integration.
And one comment about budgets I like to share with my clients is that it is not best practice to create a budget 2022 and a budget 2023 and a budget 2024, because as you probably know, you add that to your report. You add the budget, you select what budget you want to use here. You'll notice I select what budget I want to use here. That means that in the next year, you have to go edit all of the reports that you have selecting that budget. Instead, you simply have an annual budget or an operating budget or a board approved budget. Now you can have more than one budget for different purposes, but for your annual budget, it is best practice to simply have the annual budget and upload all of the different periods within that budget. Sorry,
There's
that's
another question in the Q&A.
Yes. AR payment import template. I have a few questions to compare bank information to client invoice to figure if this is useful or not. Best way to present details and discuss. Not sure if I'm reading that correctly. AR payment import template.
So this is the new template that is available now, right?
So let's go look at that template. Let's see if I can.
So to compare bank information to client invoice, so what is Intacct comparing, right? So you're importing a template of payments. You're going to have to tell it which invoice to apply it to.
So this is the template, and I believe it has the invoice that it has the customer ID, the payment summary,
document number.
So whether you're
Okay.
going directly to the bank or undeposited funds with this, right? The date,
the receipt method, the amount received.
your number.
Mhm.
You scroll to the right.
Action number, I believe, is the invoice. So this says
Invoice number. Yep, there you go.
Yep, there it is.
Because you're going to have to tell it which invoice it is relevant to. Notice that that's a required field. Michelle, if you make it a little bit bigger,
yes, ma'am.
just zoom in there, down there just a little bit.
Whoop.
Oh,
Oh.
Yeah, so see transaction number, so the invoice. So you have to know the invoice number or adjustment number to do this import. It's required. Remember, it always tells you it's required. If you think about it, here's what you do with templates, right? Whenever you're populating a template, you look at the screen in Intacct that it's going to import into, and anything that's required in that screen is going to be required on your template. So if Michelle goes back over to Sage Intacct and we go to receive a payment into that screen, so, yep, just like you're adding, this is where the template's going to go. The template is going to come into this screen. So the template is going to have all of these fields, and any of them that have a red asterisk are also going to be required on your template. So basically what this new template is doing is filling out this screen for you.
In bulk, which is nice.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right. You can
So
do a bunch of
recording-
them at the same time. Right, Jenny, exactly. Mhm.
Recording multiple payments. That's all it is recording the payment. It's not processing payment, but it's a great new feature.
Mhm. But it's applying it to the invoices for you so that you don't have to come in and do it. So it's going to be important to have that template filled out correctly.
Right. And that reminds, so again, you can do 5,000 lines in that import template. And again, do so, approach it cautiously.
Mhm.
One, and make sure it works. Because reversing one's a lot easier than in manually reversing 5,000.
Yes, yes. Do one or two until you get it right. Exactly. Make sure you like what it does.
Exactly.
Good call out.
Simple one first. All right. Are there any other questions? I don't see any other questions or anything in chat.
That might be it.
Awesome.
Wonderful.
Great. Well, thank you, Michelle and Jenny and everyone and Irene and everyone else for joining the webinar. Again, you will get the recording as well as a hard copy of the presentation today. Just give us at least 72 hours to get that to you guys. If you have any questions, here's an email you can reach out to, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you.
All right.